Hey everybody, what's going on? Good to see everybody on a 4th of July weekend. Hope you're all doing well. You're probably all out watching fireworks, which is exactly what I should be doing, but not tonight, maybe tomorrow. Hope you're all doing well. Let me know if you could hear me and see me okay. Higher Grounds. Hey, Higher Grounds, how are you? Yeah, let me know how the audio and the video looks to you. Tonight, I was going to do a video on a little piece of gear that somebody sent to me. And I thought, why do a video? Why not just unbox it on live stream and talk a little bit about this compressor? You know, why is it sitting in my studio, at least temporarily? So that's what we're going to do tonight. And whatever else you guys want to talk about. If there's anybody else here that's going to hang out, probably be a slow night due to the holiday, which is totally understandable. And that's totally cool. So I hope you're all doing well. And hope you're enjoying your summer thus far. So if you are in the chat and you're hanging out, go ahead and leave a comment and say hello. I see Higher Grounds is here. Higher Grounds, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Don't know how many other people will be here. Now, YouTube is saying that we have a less than excellent YouTube connection. So if we're getting a little bit of buffering, that's YouTube. That's not anything on my end, but it might be okay. It might be okay. It might be okay. Hey, Chris, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Happy 4th to you as well. Hope you're doing well. Hope you guys are enjoying your summer so far and hope you're getting some cool stuff done in your studio. Let me know what's going on in your studio. Let me know what projects you're working on. Let me know if you got any new gear or any new stuff you want to talk about. What's going on here with my phone? What's going on here with my phone? Let's see here. It's okay. Shut that off. People are starting to roll in. This is cool. Hey, Kitchen of Studio Sound. Is that a CO1B clone? It is. We'll talk a little bit about this in a minute. Hey, Jeremy, what's going on, buddy? How are you? Pardon me. Hey, Martin, how are you? Good to see you. So we got some people that'll show up. So you're not all celebrating the holiday. You're all hanging out in your studios watching stupid YouTube videos. That's good. Hey, Mark, what's going on? How you doing, Bo? How you doing, bud? So I hope you all guys are all doing well this week. You should have saw a video on unboxing of all the Z&H products. And you'll start seeing those videos coming in the next few weeks. Most of them have been recorded, not all of them. The big EQ, which is right up there, right there, that video's been done. You'll see that in a couple of weeks, but this coming Tuesday, you're going to see the sound demo for the Stam Audio Pultec, which I think you guys are really going to like. You're really going to like that. That's a good video, and what a great piece of gear, too. Hey, Kaiser, what's going on, man? Good to see you as well. It's not a K&H EQ. Oh, Z&H, not K&H. Get it right. It's a brand new company. They make some pretty cool stuff, man. I've done 3 of the 4 videos so far where we did, and you'll see them. We have a set of their API 560 EQs, which are pretty cool. We have a pair of that big EQ in the 500 series, the 2500 series, which is a 4-band as opposed to a 5-band, but it's that EQ shrunk down. That's pretty cool too. Sounds pretty much the same. Very clean, very transparent EQ. So if you're looking for a clean, transparent EQ, that's a good EQ to take a look at. Those 500 series EQs, the ones for the Sontec there, those are going to be given away in part of a mixing contest coming up probably in September. When I do the next hybrid mixing or mixing hybrid course, that'll be one of the giveaways will be that for sure, which will be really cool. And the last thing that I have to do for Z&H is their 1178. I have their 1178. I just haven't done the video yet. So please do a comparison of the Empress versus Stam EQ. I will. That I'm going to do because they are different. They are different, but they're so very cool. That one will definitely do. It's not an apples to apples comparison. The Empress EQ to me has a little bit more of a modern sound, whereas the Pultec is more of a classic sound. The Empress EQ also has a couple more features in the EQ curves. especially on the mid-band. It can be a bell or a shelf. There's a little bit more flexibility in the Empress. And the fact that you can take the tube circuit in and out, the saturation circuit, which is really cool. On the Stam Audio Pultec, it's the classic, Pultec with a little less features, but it just sounds so good. They both sound really good. But yeah, I'm going to one point compare those two pieces of gear because, they're both my gear and I love both of them for different reasons. So that'll be pretty cool. So that'll come up. Yeah, soon. It'll be a bit, but it's coming. We're gonna do that. That's on my list for sure. But the Z&H stuff is coming out a little bit every week. You'll see a different video every week. There is some more Stam audio gear coming. Then we got this thing, which I'll tell you guys a little story about once we get some more people here, because I don't want to repeat myself. not that it matters. People can just go back and watch the replay. But usually it takes a little bit of time for people to start rolling in. So again, yeah, thanks everybody for joining me tonight on this kind of last minute live stream. I've done 2 in a row. We did one last week with David S.J., which was fun because he was up here from New York helping me record some of those videos. And then I got this thing in here. And like I said, I was going to just do a regular old video. I was going to do an unboxing and talk about it and and just put it up on YouTube as regular and then follow it up with some videos on the audio side of it. But then I thought, I don't think I've ever done an unboxing live here on YouTube. So I said, let's talk about it. You guys can ask questions about it. You guys ask me about warm audio all the time. The only reason why it's sitting here is because you guys have asked me about warm audio, and every time we post a video about something, someone will, in the comments will ask about, can you get this warm audio or this Behringer gear, and can you compare it to some of the more higher end gear? And almost every single time I say no, because there's really no reason for me to do that. This is a little bit of an exception because I don't have this particular compressor already. So that's why I want to, check it out. But we'll see. Well, we'll see. I don't go out and just buy a bunch of cheap gear to compare to all the gear that I already have because number one, I don't see the point in that. Number two, I don't have time to do that. So this is a little bit of a different case. So make sure you give me the old thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions about anything at all, tell me what you're doing in your studios, anything you want to talk about. What's next on your gear purchase list? Do you have a gear purchase list? I can't believe you wouldn't. We all do, don't we? We all have a gear purchase list of what we're looking to save up for and what we're looking to buy. Actually, they're on my list. There's really nothing. I have nothing on the radar to purchase. The only thing that I would like to get, and it will happen, is I want to get a Stam 670 Fairchild. That's like the last thing that I really would love to get, and I'm sure I will get one from him at one point. It just may be a while. But aside from that, I don't really have anything on my list of, I'm looking to get this, or I'm looking to buy that, or I saw this. I got so much stuff, and some of these companies just keep sending me stuff. So it's like I'm running out of room. And so I got to give some of this stuff away. And I have to, and then I keep a couple of the pieces that I think are cool that are something I don't already currently have. So that's that. Higher Ground says that he just bought an IGS multi-core multi-band compressor. Oh, very cool. I'm not really into, or really haven't did a lot with multi-band. So that's cool. Martin says the Stam is taking pre-orders on the 500 Series 1B. Oh, really? Okay, cool. Yeah, I just talked to the owner, Josh, just the other day. We had a nice chat. So he's got a lot of plans of a lot of stuff coming up, which, he told me to keep confident. So I'm going to keep confidential. But I'm hoping to do a lot more work with him. I mean, the only piece that I've ever seen, that I've ever really put aside from the 609, the 33609, which is killer, by the way. I have to do a video on that too. I got so many videos I got to do. But I got to tell you, man, that Pultec, just the build quality. Go, if you didn't see the unboxing video, go see that. I mean, the build quality of that thing. I got to say, I think it's probably the best, most robust quality built piece of gear I have in this room, aside from maybe the console. And I told him that. I said, I don't think there's a piece of gear in that rack that is built as well or feels as military grade kick-ass than that thing. I just don't, I mean, the Audioscape stuff is awesome. And I got a lot of that. We did the VA3A, the LA3. Dave and I did a video that's coming in a couple of weeks. That's a killer compressor, by the way, for anybody who wants to know. But I don't know that I mean, that stereo Pultec, man, is something else. You can see why it's over $3,000, right? When you put your hands on it and you just start working with it, you go, oh yeah, it's worth every penny of that. And it sounds really great, man. Really great. Hey, Dave, what's your thoughts on the Hazel Rig VEN2 vocal compressor? I haven't seen it. I don't know. I haven't seen that. Sorry, I don't know that one. Want to see a review on the Cranbourne HE2 EQ? Yeah, I don't have any plans to get that in here, so that wouldn't be on my channel, but I'm sure there's going to be channels that will be doing that. I'm sure there will be. You were looking at one of those last week. How do you like it? How do I like what? Oh, he's looking at higher ground. Sorry. He was looking at higher ground. Oh yeah, the IGS. Cool. Yeah, I don't know much about their stuff. I've heard they make good stuff, but I've never tried it, man. Hey Braxel, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. So let me tell you a little bit about why this is on my table here, and then I haven't opened it, so I have no idea what it's going to feel like in my hand. I figured we would do that together. So here's what the deal is with this whole thing. A friend sent this to me. He got it as a demo from Sweetwater, and he's letting me try it. So here's the deal. So you guys ask me about warm audio all the time, and what do I think of it? And I always say, I don't have a lot of experience with it. I hear mixed feedback from people that own warm audio. I have just as many students that love this stuff, and they have different varieties of things, everything from their compressors to their microphones and preamps and such, to just as many people that hate their stuff, and for a variety of reasons. I've heard everything from inconsistent quality, defective units, I think that's the biggest one. The biggest one I hear is their inconsistent quality, and that I've even had some people tell me that, once you go get the stuff modified by Revive Audio out in Nashville, then the stuff is usable. And then again, I hear people that love the stuff. Now, my only experience with warm audio is from many years ago. I had 3 of their units that I bought through Sweetwater. And then we're going back, it's got to be close to 8 or 9 years. It's over 5 years for sure. I had their, whatever they call it, the WA76, the black plate 1176, that one. I think that's the only one they make. I don't think they make a blue stripe, but their 1176. I had their Opto compressor, and I had one of their Pultec EQs, the mono EQ. And at that time, there were a couple of things about the warm audios, those particular units, that I did not like. Now, they weren't defective. They worked for me out of the box. I didn't have any quality issues, but I sent them back within a week. So I don't know if I would have had a long-term quality issue. But here's what my opinion at that time was this. They felt like at least those 3 units, particularly the 76, from what I remember, felt like it was cheaply made. It just felt cheap to me. But more importantly, when I compared that and the Opto, their LA2A, when I compared that to I think it was Universal Audio plugins, is probably the plugins I compared them to at the time, I felt that the plugins were equally as good. Now, fast forward all these years later, that now I'm way more into hardware. I have a way better understanding of hardware, how it works and how it sounds. I can tell you that I've yet to hear a piece of hardware, a compressor hardware, where the plugin was equally as good or better. Out of all the testing I've done on everything that I have, only the stuff that I have yet to hear a plug-in compressor that was better than the hardware that I had in this room. But this was going back several years ago. So, and since that time, I haven't had any warm audio. Since that time, I've heard everything I just told you. Inconsistent quality, unusable, built like cheap, to the other extreme where I love it, I have it, it's great stuff, no problems on my end. So it's about 50-50 of the stuff that I've personally heard. So I get a call from a friend of mine that says, hey, do you have a CL1B by Pultec, which I always wanted to try. But a CL1B by Pultec, I think, is anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000, depending on where, you know, the used market, and I don't know what they are new, but they're over $4,000, I'm sure. You could probably get a used one for a little bit less, but not much less. It's a Pultec CL1B, which I've never used. I've used their plugin, I think, once or twice, but I have to refamiliarize myself with the plugin. I will get back to the chat. Don't you guys worry. If you guys are asking me questions, I'll get back to it. But outside of that, I have no experience with it. But it's you know, has a reputation, the Pultec, that it's, you know, a fantastic vocal compressor, bass compressor. It's really highly regarded and commands a high price tag. Okay, great. Then Warm Audio puts out their 1A, what's it, the 1A, 1B, as well as they're putting out, you know, a couple of 1073 pre's. And this thing is all over YouTube, where you have everybody from, everybody, you know, all the YouTube channels, right? People comparing them to real Pultecs, people just listening to them on their own, people comparing them to plugins. And although I haven't watched all those videos, I've watched a couple. And again, you know, it's difficult when you have a Sweetwater sponsored video, you know, that the YouTuber is going to be anything other than a favorable review. And so when I got an opportunity to try one, I said, well, you know, the only reason why I would even consider it is because I don't have one of these already. So in other words, if someone wanted to give me an 1176 and say, can you compare it to the AudioScape 76? I'm not going to do that. Or they're going to send me a Pultec. Will you compare it to the AudioScape Pultec? I understand Pultec. I'm not going to do that. I have no reason to do that. I would only be interested in doing something like that if it was a piece of gear that I might be able to use in my studio and something I don't have. And so this was like, okay, you know, the timing's right. It's not a sponsored video. I'm not being paid. No one gave this to me for free. It's not even mine. I think I can buy it from the cat if I want to. But if it was really good, I would go buy one anyway, and I would tell you. Not to mention, because everybody asks me about Warm Audio, and I have this experience in the past, and 50% of you love Warm Audio, and 50% of you hate Warm Audio. I thought, you know what? Maybe it's about time that if I have an opportunity on a piece of gear that I don't own, let me get it out of the box. Let me see at least, what is the build quality like? What is it like? Do I, you know, does it remind me of that 76 that I remember back then? Or maybe something has changed many years later. I know Warm Audio has had a reputation of inconsistent quality, and maybe they have changed theirs. Maybe they're better now. Hopefully they're better. And then, you know, I'll do really proper videos where I'll listen to it and test it and compare it to the plugin, and I'll see, is this thing better than the Universal Audio, or there's probably some other one. I think Softtube makes a CL1B. But UA is kind of usually my benchmark, because UA plugins are usually, if not, in my mind, if not the best, one of the best out there, is, and one of the companies that have been doing it the longest. So I always feel good that, you know, they're, whatever they emulate in plugin form is probably pretty darn close to the real thing. So it'll be interesting to see how this stacks up against this, against that. And I'm interested to see if I have the same opinion about, you know, that than what all the other YouTube videos are, you know, that are out there already. All the sponsored guys that are getting the gear from Sweetwater, and Sweetwater's paying them for the video and all that stuff. Well, as you guys know, that doesn't happen here. I'll tell you exactly what I think. I'll tell you whether I'm going to get one or whether it's going to go back. It's got to go back to my buddy. This one's got to go back to my buddy. But if it's good and I like it and it's something different than what I already have and I think it's worth buying, then I would buy another one from Sweetwater with my own money, non-sponsored, and I will tell you that. And then the next time when you guys ask me about Warm Audio, maybe I can have a little bit more of a positive response about it, because right now it's kind of it's hit or miss. Maybe this will change my mind. So we'll unbox it in a second. I haven't opened it. I've not put my hands on it. So I have no idea whether it's good or not. Maybe it's fantastic. I hope it is, to be honest. I do. It would be great if this thing was great, because a real one is probably very expensive, which I think one of you said in the chat what it is. Let's see. Kitchen of Sound says the Warm 273 didn't work for you. Okay, is that their new 1073? Boring sounding and distortion is what it gave me. Okay. Okay, yep. I know they just put out a 1073. I don't know much about it though. Braxel loves his HE2. He got his HE2. Good for you. I'm sure that's a fantastic unit, man. It's a nice compressor. I tracked many vocals through it until I got my retro at 176. Ooh. I never used a Pultec CL1B before, so I can't compare from memory. I'm going to keep the Warm. Okay. Okay, cool. Chris says that he has a WA76. Okay. Right next to your UA76. Honestly, they're pretty dang close. Oh, good. Okay. How's the build quality on that 76 compared to the UA? Again, and I know they're cheaper units. You see, when you have a unit that's a quarter of the price, something is sacrificed. Something. It's usually the component choice or maybe the casing and the knobs and the buttons. It's something is different. Something has got to be different. So it'd be interesting to see. Long wait on the 2-tep, high demand. That's what I hear. I hear the real CL1B, it's hard to get them, and ever since COVID, they've had some issues. I know a little bit about it, but I haven't paid close attention. You say they're $4,150 on the CL1B. Yeah, I hear they're expensive, right? So that's 40, say $4,200. This I think is $1,200 new, $1,200, $1,199 or $1,299. So again, it's what, 1/4 the price. 1/4. So is it going to be built as well and sound as great as a real CL1B? I have no idea because I don't have a real CL1B, but my guess is probably not. It's probably not going to be as good as that, and it shouldn't be at 1/4 the price. It shouldn't be. I saw the comparison with the Neve Master Bus Transformer and the HE2 at Animal Studios, and the HE2 rocks hard. Yeah, I've seen the HE2. I know it's the talk of the town right now. I'm sure it's awesome. I'm sure it's awesome. Braxel said he never used Warm audio, but there's so many negative reviews. Yeah, there are, so I just avoid it for now on other items. Yep. I hear you. That's, you know. Will today's modern gear be restricted to 50 years? Reconstructed in 50 years. Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. You say, Chris says his UA 1176 is metal. The Warm is plastic. You're telling me that the chassis of a Warm audio is plastic? I don't remember that. Really? I don't remember that. See, again, I haven't touched one in a long time, man. I haven't touched one in a long time. All right, well, you know what? Let's open this thing. Let's open it while you guys, and I'll, you know, well, let's open this thing. Now, again, it's not brand new, so I can't tell you about the packaging job and all of that comes out of the factory. I'd have to buy a brand new one to know that. You know, like I do the unboxings and stuff, so I can't do that for you. But we can at least see what's what. Okay, so you put it in the foam with the bag. Nice power cable. All right. Let's see what we got. So it's packed pretty standard. Foam. Just tapping the lid, I can already tell you. All right, let's see. Let's have no preconceived notions. All right. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it feels pretty substantial. You got a nice owner manual in here, which is always nice. You don't see that from companies much anymore. Let's get this out of the way. All right. My first impressions on this thing on the build. Now, again, and I know this is unfair. I could tell you, but now after unboxing that Stam Pultec, that's like the benchmark, man. That's like for me, the build quality is like the benchmark, and that's a high bar. And again, you can't expect a unit of this price point to be built like that. You just can't. But I do want to, you know, use that as kind of like, if that's like, you know, high quality, where does this fall on that scale? All right, so let me see this thing. Here, I'll hold it up. Again, if it's not in total focus, I apologize. But there you go. Put it right in front of my face to let the camera focus. There we go. Looks good. Feels pretty substantial. Nothing rattling. Let me take a look at the knobs here. Okay, so they're stepped, they're detented a little bit. Again, not like the stem, not the big click, 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 not like that, but little notches along the way nevertheless. On the gain, let's see, interesting, the ratio. And they feel all about the same. Got a bypass toggle. I mean, feels okay. Feels okay. It's got a side chain. It's got a meter calibration knob and LED. And an on-off. Feels okay. The knobs are a little on the small side. Again, compared to a real CL1B, I don't know the knobs are the right size. They're probably a little smaller. But they feel okay. It's a metal chassis for sure. I can't believe Chris's is a plastic. Really, that really shocks me. But you can, you know, again, and again, it's not, you could tell that the casing and stuff is just a little thinner. Again, comparing it to even some of my Audioscape pieces, it's a little bit thinner. Without taking off the cover here, you can tell that the casing is just a thinner material. It's not as beefy and as robust. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is what it is. Input, output, voltage select, and that's it. So I like that it's got the little detents in there. Feels okay. It doesn't feel what I remember of the WA76, which back then felt really cheap to me. This doesn't feel cheap to me. It doesn't feel like, again, the stem audio piece. It's not even in the same hemisphere as that from a build quality. But again, to be fair, that's over $3 grand. This is a little over 1,000. But it does feel okay. It does feel okay. Nice big meter. The two switches are, you know, yeah, not bad. From what I can tell, not bad. So far, not bad. 2U. It's not a 3U, it's a 2. I don't know if the CL1B, the real one, is 2 or 3. I think it's 2. But there you go. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, starting over the next few days. I'm going to do some sound tests. I'll do a video on the sound, both independently and then again some the UA plugin, and just to see how it sounds. Again, I don't know how it sounds compared to a real one. But does this sound any different or any cooler, or does this give me a flavor that I don't already have? It's an opto compressor, so I got to assume it's LA2A-ish, right? LA2A-ish, but it has way more controls on it than an LA2A, obviously. It's got more knobs, more adjustments, for sure. So we'll see. We'll see, and I'll let you know, and you'll see it, and I'll tell you whether I like it or not, because this is not a sponsored video or channel. So no one sent this to me. No, in other words, I wasn't gifted this, and then not being paid for the videos or anything like that. So this is on loan from a friend, and if I like it, and I think it's really cool, if it lives up to the hype, it's probably worth $1,300 or whatever it is. I think it's like $1,200 or $1,300. So that's the CL1B. There we go. We can put that there for the remainder of the stream in case anyone wants to ask any questions about it. So there we go. So that's our unboxing. That's our unboxing. Okay, let's see. What do you guys got to say? Anything? Anything at all? Oh, a real CL1B is 3 spaces. Okay. Yep, this is 2. That's okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it looks okay to me. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to take it apart right now, but I probably will in another video just to look at the inside and just kind of see the craftsmanship. I mean, again, I don't have a real one to compare it to, so I don't know what I would even be looking at. You know what I mean? I don't even know what I would be looking at. But this does feel better to me than the 76 did, from what I remember. From what I remember. But I even think isn't their WA76 only about $500, and this is twice that, right? So again, hopefully, I hope that it does sound good, and I hope that they have, you know, turned the tide and have made some changes over the years, because that would be great. I don't want to see a company make bad products and then you guys go out and buy stuff and it doesn't last. You know what I mean? So that would be really great if it was awesome. That would be really cool, man. So that's our unboxing for the evening. So I'm here to talk to you, to chat with you, whatever you guys want to talk about. Sorry I don't have the ability to hook it up and actually use it tonight, or else I would. But we will have some videos coming. I will do them. They will come shortly, probably in the next few weeks. There's so many videos already done and already in schedule, already, you know, lined up. So within the next 3 to 4 or 5 weeks, you'll see the sound videos for these. And by the time you see the video, I may not even have it anymore, because if I don't like it, it's going right back. Or if not, if I don't like it, if it doesn't sound any better than the plug-in, then there's no reason for me to keep it. The real CL1B has a transformer seen on the outside and the back. Yeah, right. Their CL1B is not a full depth, right? They have some exposed components, and I think the tubes are hanging out the back too. Is it not? I think it is. Whereas this is all encased. So, hey George, how are you, buddy? I'm considering getting a trackball mouse like you have. What are the pros and cons of conventional mouse? Well, the biggest thing for me is you don't have to have a big surface area. This doesn't have to move around. It just sits in one spot. That's why I like it. You know, sometimes when you're moving your mouse, if you got limited amount of space, you find like you always feel like you're running out of space. That's why I don't like it. Where a trackball just sits stationary, and you get used to it. I've gotten way used to a trackball over the years. To me, it's just faster. But that was the biggest pro for me, was just so I didn't have to worry about the amount of space that I had. I will wait for your comparison on those bus EQs for my mastering rig. Well, you know what? If it's a mastering rig, you may even want to consider that Sontec up there. If you want something clean and transparent, that's more of a mastering EQ. It's got more frequency points than the Pultec and the Audio Gain Labs. You know? So yeah, it depends on what you're looking for. And the same thing with the Empress and the Stam Pultec. They're different sounding. They don't sound the same. I mean, they sound similar. The Empress is based on, it's a Pultec. It's their take on the it's their kind of starting point, and then they've added some features to it, and it's to me, again, it's a little more modern sounding. The Stam Pultec is a little bit more subtle and smooth, I would say. It's not, I think is maybe the right words. Different. It's different. But for mastering, if you were really looking at mastering, I would think you'd want, well, you probably would want to, you know, you may want a couple of different types of EQs. I don't know. But that Soundtech, or the HVC 250 by Z&H, that's a good sounding EQ. But it's clean, clean, clean. Clean, clean. But it sounds good. It does sound good. You'll see that in the video. You'll see that in the video. Hi, hey, Precision Audio. How are you? Or Precise Audio. Hi, you are packed. Packed is right, man. I got no more room for no more gear, man. The only thing nothing, I really don't. I have a couple of spaces open for those Stam Audio bus compressors when they show up, and that's it. The rest of this stuff is either not staying or it's being given away. It's crazy. To be fair, this audience is not warm target audience. Yes, they get a lot of hate from people using higher end stuff, but it's really not fair since they aren't trying to do that. Yeah, I guess that's a valid point, Chris. I don't know. I mean, you say that this audience is not warm targeted audience, but I got to tell you, I can't do a video without people asking me about warm audio. So I think my audience is, I think part of my audience, and I know this to be true only because people have wrote me emails and asked me for recommendations, are not just guys like yourself that already have a console and gear, or guys like me, or, Braxel and some of the other guys, but they're also people who are getting the hardware for the first time. And they come here looking for advice. I get emails weekly about it, so I know that's true, at least a percentage of the audience. And they are some of those folks are more in the more affordable gear. They're into the warm audio. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have asked me about warm audio, the Behringer 33609. So yeah, I think for people that are getting in for the first time, who don't know a lot about hardware, really don't know the differences in sound other than what maybe they've seen on YouTube, this is probably this kind of stuff is probably their first entry level. So, yeah, so, I think it's valid for me to talk about it and to bring some of it. But they are, and honestly, they get a lot of hate from people using high-end stuff, but you say it's really not fair since they're not trying to. No, I think it is. That's where I'll respectfully disagree with you. I think it is fair because warm audio is billing themselves as good as the higher-end stuff. And they got guys like Warren Hewitt and Joe Carroll and all these famous guys running around saying that it is as good as the real stuff. And again, they may be totally right. I'm not saying anything disparaging about, Joe Carroll and Warren Hewitt. I'm just using those two examples because they do a lot of warm audio stuff with them, and they fully stand behind it. So, and they say it's as, some of their stuff is as good as the real stuff that they've used. Maybe it is. So I think warm audio is absolutely trying to do that, and good for them, by the way. Again, I'm not knocking warm audio for that. So they are trying to do that. So therefore, we should be critical, and we should criticize when appropriate, or where it's fair. Again, I want to be fair to their stuff. I don't have a lot of experience with it. And I do know people that have used their stuff that have had nothing but problems with their stuff. So I think that's fair. I think some of the hate that warm audio gets, and I don't like the word hate, but you know what I mean. Some of the criticism that they get, I think is fully warranted, because I personally know colleagues that have opened their stuff out of the box and it's been defective. I've seen that happen recently. Again, that can happen with any company, a one-off here and there. It is electronics, shipping, things happen, but you hear that stuff a lot about warm audio. At least I've heard a lot about it. So I got the West Audio Hyperion after watching a video. West Audio makes great stuff, man. I love West Audio stuff. They really do. That's a great EQ. Paul from Studio Animals uses the HE2 in all 3 studios for his mastering. He has a lot of gear from Studio Animals. It's a good channel. If I had $1 every time Dave said he was done getting gear, I could probably buy the SSL. Well, you said getting gear. I will tell you, I haven't bought any gear in a long time. Most of the recent stuff it's being sent to me by companies. I'm really not in the market to buy new gear. But when I have a company like Z&H or like Stam Audio that wants to send me a bunch of pieces and do some work together, and it's some pieces that I can use and I'm not paying for it, but I am exchanging services for it. Plus being able to give some of it away. I mean, that's huge, guys. I mean, I know Warren does this a lot because Warren has, you know, he's got way deep relationships with companies and he could give away a lot of this crap. He gets lots of stuff that he can give away, and he does. And you know, good for him. He also sells lots of stuff on Reverb too. And again, good for him. But I don't know of any other channel that is, you know, doing mixing contests and giving away gear. And that's kind of part of my new thing with these companies. When I get a company like Z&H Designs, believe me, I was like, I really don't, that's the only thing that I actually need by them. Every other piece of gear they make, I've already got. I don't need any of it. And so I was reluctant to even work with them, not because I don't think they're a good company. From what I've seen so far, they seem to be good. Because I don't need their gear. But because I said, hey, well, you know, I'll do a video, but the other gear you're going to give me, do you mind if I give it away as part of our mixing contest stuff? And they said, sure. So now if a company wants to work with me and I think they're really cool and they got some good stuff and they want me to help them out and I want to try their stuff because I'm interested and I want to maybe bring some info to you guys, I'll do that, you know, and my payment is not money. It's, you got to give me some prizes. Cough them up, companies. Let me give them away. And that's what some of these companies are doing that. Stam Audio's doing it as well. And so, but I haven't bought a piece of gear in a while. I haven't bought a piece of gear in a while. And I don't plan to buy a piece of gear. Well, you know, I don't know. Maybe this will be one of the ones I'll buy. I don't know. I really have to be blown away by this for me to go out and buy it. I mean, it would really have to be like, wow, that really does something completely different than anything that I have for me to go out and buy this, even at $1,100. You know. Okay, let me scroll down. A couple of you guys are chatting with each other. I don't want to get in the middle of that. It's all good, Chris. So waiting for Dave to get another studio rack. Well, actually, the Sontech is in a small rack that I put up on top of the server rack. So I guess you could technically say I got a new rack. And if I ever get a 670, I'll have to get something because I don't have any room for that. Because that's a 5-spacer, at least the new one that they're building. At least that's what I've been told. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, we'll see about this. I want to see what all the hype is. I want to see. See, even when I do that, kind of, you know what I mean? It kind of rattles. I don't think it's loose, but that's the thin casing. I can even feel the flex in the top. Not badly. Again, not bad. It's not bad. And really, at the end of the day, is what does it sound like, right? I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, to be fair, you can't expect any company to put out, you know, a product that's 1/3 or 1/4 the price of the real thing and expect it to be exactly the same, both in build quality and in component choice. It can't be. I don't think. It can't be. You know, so you gotta cut them a little bit of slack. Gotta cut them a little bit of slack. I have not used warm audio compressors or EQs, but I have used the Tone Beast. Oh, that's their preamp, isn't it? The Tone Beast is better. Oh, cool. I never used the Tone Beast stuff. Never used it. I really love the Super Silk on the NBT, but $4,000, I don't know. Oh yeah, you know, that was one I bought, that MBT. And again, that was recent. That wasn't too long ago. That was the last piece of gear I bought. And I wasn't in the market for that until I heard that Kive Audio plugin, the Enfuse. I'll tell you what though, Kaiser, that thing is killer, man. It is. It is. But you're right, $4,000's a lot. It's a big pill. It's a big pill to swallow, man. It's a big pill to swallow. I agree with you. It's a lot of money. But I don't regret. I'm going to put this in the starter show. Look at this. product placement for warm audio. You think anyone will watch this and actually, right? How much should I be charging for this? There's YouTube channels that charge hundreds of dollars per video to put something in the camera, in the frame of the camera. You think Warm Audio's never reached out to me, by the way. People ask me that. They've never have. And honestly, if they did, you're not going to see me bring a bunch of Warm Audio in here and start comparing it to other pieces I already have. That's not what this channel is. This channel is the only gear demos that you see is gear that I use in my studio that I'm going to keep, that I need for my studio, and that's it. And or now, if it's a company like I get a Soundtech that I could really use, it's really cool, and they're going to give me some other gear to give away, that's cool. But just to go out and start comparing a bunch of stuff, that's not for me to do. I don't have time for that. But yeah, $4 grand's a lot for that, but it's worth it. Is that white mastering EQ stepped? No, it's not a Braxel, but you can purchase it in the stepped mastering version. So what's cool and unique about Z&H Design, I think they're unique in this. I don't know anyone else that does this, but you guys will correct me if I'm wrong. They make all their own components. They make the knobs, they make the faceplates, they make the chassis, they do their own screens, their silk screening, you know, the printing, they do all of it. So they can heavily customize. So you could get that white EQ. You could get that in any color you want. You could get the knobs in any color you want. You could get it stepped as a mastering version, or like mine, which is not stepped. Again, I don't know what all the different upcharges are for that, but you can customize the stuff. I thought that was pretty unique as far as, you know, pro audio goes. You know what I mean? So, but no, that one is not. And I said it, and when you see the video for it, I think in a couple of weeks, I do say in the video, if it was me and if I was buying that, I would buy it stepped, personally. I would. Not that it's bad like that, but I would prefer it stepped. But it's built pretty cool. Chris asks, Dave, do you think companies giving away gear helps or hurts them? Some high-end companies never give their stuff away, and that might be why they are still held in such high regard. Yeah, you know, I think it helps companies if they want to get exposure. Like, you're right, though. Like, Neve doesn't have to give away stuff. They've been around, I don't know, however many years. Let's say 50, right? SSL, API, the big three, they don't have to give away stuff. They're not looking to break into the market. They're not looking to, they are the big three, right? I mean, there's a couple others, you know, 3A, B3, B3C, Trident, Audience. But the big three are Neve, SSL, API, right? So they don't have to give it away. But these other companies, or Universal Audio, if you want to get away from consoles, you know, Universal Audio, they're not giving away stuff. They don't need to. They've been around 100 years. They've been making their hardware forever. They're not giving it away. But companies that are trying to make, for whatever, lack of a better word, accurate replicas of that classic gear, for them to break into the market and to get people to give it a chance, they have to, they kind of have to give some of the gear to YouTubers and whatnot for anyone to even give it a chance. And so does it hurt them? I don't know that it hurts them. I think if you're a company, a new company, or you're a small company and you're trying to expand, I think if you're making CL1Bs or 1176s or LA2As or Pultecs, I think on some level you have to. I think you have to. And when a company gives a YouTuber like me, or Warren, or Colt, or David at Mixbus TV, or Studio Animals, or, you know, all the guys that you guys know and love, and I love all of them as well. When they get all their gear, the companies are giving them their gear too. They're giving it away. They're giving it away to the YouTuber, and maybe the YouTuber keeps it like I do, or the YouTuber sells it like some of these channels do. Some of these channels got their own reverb store flipping gear. And some, where appropriate, will give it away like I'm trying to do. you know, I think unless you, if you're trying to break into that market, I don't think you have a choice. And I think for the company, it's the smartest thing for them to do, because they know that if they give me a piece of gear, you know, and if my video, if I like it, or if any YouTuber influencer makes a video and says something positive, even if they sell 1 or 2 pieces based on those videos, they've broke even. They've made the money back on the gear that they gave me, right? Because it's just their cost at that point, right? So, you know, if this thing costs $1,300 street price, it doesn't cost them more than $500 or $600 to make it. Not, especially this company, the way they're mass producing this thing overseas. But even a hand builder like Stam or Audioscape, if their unit's $1,000, they're probably paying $600 for it. Maybe, again, I don't know, but that would be my guess. Between $500 and $600 for it is what they're costing them. So if my video sells 2 of their products, they've already made their money back. You know, so I think for some companies it makes total sense, but if you're the big 3, you don't have to do that. And I don't know that's why I don't know that's why that's why they're held in high regard. You know why Neve is held in high regard? Because they make fantastic effing gear. And you can't find a bad piece in their lineup anywhere. And that's why they can charge $4,000 for the MBT, for example, and get it. Because it's a fantastic piece of gear. And you know that not only is it a fantastic sounding piece of gear, but it's going to have that reliability, and it's going to have the longevity, and you buy that piece of gear, you'll have it 100 years, assuming you take care of it. And that's why they don't have to do it, because they make great gear. But when you're trying a company like this, and you're trying to compete with a company and sell the stuff at a quarter of the price, the only way you're going to get anyone to give it a chance is to give it away, I think. And that's why they do it. And that's cool. That's cool. I've heard direct comparisons to the Tube-Tech, and the Worm audio doesn't quite have the euphonic sheen as the original. Okay, cool. I have some pretty bright vocal mics, so I like the roundness of the Worm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I would not, and again, what some people don't, all you guys do, but a lot of people, again, new folks that are into hardware getting into this for the first time. They're plug-in guys or gals, and now they're checking out and they want a piece of gear because they want to twiddle the knobs and stuff. What some people fail to remember is that if I put 3 of these things on the table and we listened to all 3 of them, they'd all sound a little bit different. So it's not going to sound just like a regular Tube-Tech. Exactly. And if you put 2 CL1Bs, 2 real ones side by side, they wouldn't sound identical to each other either. That's the one thing that people that are new to hardware that come from the plugin world maybe don't realize, because with a plugin, if I put a plugin on 100 channels, it sounds identical on all 100 channels. It's software, right? Hardware, electronics, the age of the hardware, the age of the electronics, the wear and tear over time. These units do not sound 100% identical to each other. And so I don't expect that it would sound identical to a CL1B. My question is, and again, I don't even care that it does or doesn't, because I don't have one to test it against, and I'm not getting one to test it against. I'm just curious to know, how does it sound on its own? You know, how does it sound? How does it sound compared to an LA2A? Because to me, that's kind of I think that's kind of the ballpark the sound is going to be in, I think, because it's the same kind of compression, I believe. And then how does it sound to the plug-in counterpart? That's all I really care about. If it sounds good and it sounds better than the plugin, and it's something that's a different flavor than what I already have, and I feel like I could use it, that's all that matters to me. If it doesn't sound exactly the same as a real CL1B, I could care less. Does it sound good or doesn't it? I don't know, because I don't have a real CL1B. So the only reason why I have not bought the MBT is because I feel they will come out with a box with the Super Silk. I know you keep saying that, Braxel, over and over and over, and they're going to come out with it and you're going to buy it, and then you're going to want something different. API support is killer. That's good. I don't know. I don't have any experience with it, but that's awesome if it's great. Can't wait to get your 2 API 550Bs. Ooh, those are going to be interesting. I love API EQs. I got a pair of them in here. The reason why I don't want to buy stuff from overseas companies is if anything broke down, I don't like to wait for the response with the time difference, round trip gear, and the drama. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. That would be my concern as well. All my gear, with the exception of a couple of pieces, are all bought in the States. But yeah, no, that is a thing. I will say though, with Stam, he told me they now have, I think, 6 service centers in the United States for gear. One in my home state, by the way, which I didn't know. One in Florida. I think he said Tennessee. He told me the other day. He rattled them off. He's putting more service centers in the country so you don't have to send the stuff overseas. So yeah, but I definitely understand what you're saying, and I would agree with you. Zona has 4 of them. He has, oh yeah, Zona's a big API guy, man, which is awesome. Also, when it comes to API and MOG, they never do financing. They must be doing well to avoid that. Just buy it from Sweetwater. They all do financing. Sweetwater does financing on everything. Neve SSL API, signature sound. Yep, those are the big 3 everybody likes. Can't go wrong with any one of those 3. I mean, you really can't. It's just 3 different flavors, man. Those are just 3 different flavors of ice cream. Chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, man. And you can't go wrong with either one of them. They're all great. I bought 2 Audioscape units thanks to Dave. I'm going to buy the MK when it comes up. See, there you go. And thank you, Braxel. And I hope you tell him that if you guys do go buy this stuff based on me, at least let them know that. I don't get anything for it. I don't. But it's nice for them to know. Because then when I say, hey man, send me the new LA3A, they send it to me and it's sitting in the rack. One guy wrote a comment, which is so nice of him. He saw some of my videos. He went and bought 12 or 13 Audioscape units based on my video. So going back to what Chris was saying earlier, now if Audioscape didn't give me, if Audioscape and I weren't working together for the last couple of years, I brought dozens and dozens and dozens of sales to Audioscape based on my videos. So the gear that they've given me for those videos, they've made their money back in spades, which is great. It's awesome. It's what I want. You know, I'm not looking for a commission or for a royalty or for an affiliate. Not at all. I've never even asked them for one, and we've never had that conversation. I don't even want, like I said, they don't pay me for the videos in cash. They pay me with some gear, only if it's a piece of gear that I want. They've offered to send me other pieces that I said no. Not because I don't like their stuff, it's because I have no use for it here. So if I don't have a use for it, I don't want it. There's no reason for me to have it. So yeah, no, that's great, Braxel. Thank you for doing that. I'm glad that you were enjoying their stuff, and that's why companies do it, for exactly this, because they want sales, and they know that if they can find a YouTuber that has integrity and their audience trusts them, and I've been lucky enough to be able to convey, you know, that if I tell you something, it's because I really believe it. You guys trust me, and I take that very seriously, by the way. That they know that if I tell you, I guarantee you, if I do a video on this thing and tell you this thing sounds awesome and I'm buying one for myself, it will absolutely sell units for Warm Audio. Without a shadow of a doubt, because I get asked about this unit all the time. So if I do a thing and say, you know what, I don't know if it's like a real CL1B, but I'm telling you it sounds good, and I'm giving this one back to my buddy, and I'm ordering one from Sweetwater with my credit card and paying with it with my own money, not sponsored, not nothing. I guarantee you there'll be a half a dozen people the next day are going to go out and buy one of these things. And that's great, because if I find something that's kind of a cool piece that I can pass along to you, and you know that you can trust me, because if I tell you it's good, then That's a win for everybody. The only one that doesn't win in that game is me, because I would have to buy this, because Warm didn't send me this. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm okay. The main reason for metal enclosures was for eliminating external noise. Very important, very important. Yeah, you know, Mark, Chris, we confirm what you said earlier. You're telling me that your WA76 has a plastic chassis? Is that really true? I mean, I'm not saying you're lying, but is that not a typo? Compared to your universal audio, it's plastic? That would surprise me, man. It's built like old plexis. I have a friend that has a 20-year-old vintage Marshall, and they all sound different. All electronics sound different. And that's what makes them cool. KEH, or KHE, sorry, makes a killer amp switcher I bought, and they're in Switzerland, have excellent support. Oh, cool. Oh, great. Thank you, Braxel. No, that's very helpful. And I know Audioscape appreciates that. And I really do. I do. Because I want these companies to know that when they, you know, because that opens me up to other companies too. Like Stam. Stam reached out to me because he saw all my Audioscape videos. And said, hey, would you like to check out some of my stuff? And I said, sure. I'll check it out. If you'll send me stuff that I don't already have. Like I said, he wanted to send me 76s and 1178s, and I'm like, I got all that stuff. I don't need that stuff. Thank you, but I don't need it. Unless you're gonna let me give it all away, I don't need it. But he's given me a couple of things to give away. So we're gonna do some giveaways with Stam Audio stuff. We are. Because I wanna try to put some of this stuff into your guys' hands if I can, right? If I don't need it, I'm not gonna put it on Reverb and flip it. I know a lot of guys do that. I guess there's nothing wrong with that. I don't feel good about that. If I got it for free to sell it, I mean, I guess I understand it though. I mean, if someone did a video for a company, got the gear for free, didn't get paid for the video, and then they sold the gear as like payment for their time and effort, okay. Okay. I guess that's not like, you know, that's not bad. I guess I just don't feel good about doing that. Plus, I don't want to list it on Reverb and then go ship it and then Reverb fees and all of that. And then I don't want to deal with all of that. That sounds like a hassle. I'd rather give it away, to be honest. But there's guys that absolutely sell it. Some of them have Reverb stores, and it, you know, and again, as long as they're, I guess as long as you're open and transparent about it with your audience, then I think it's all cool. Because, you know, YouTubers do have to get paid for their time. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys do YouTube videos here, but I tell you, man, it takes a lot of time to do these videos. It really does. I mean, you know, time is money. This is a job, you know. So I get it. I get it. But that's why I think I'm a little different, that I'm not just here taking gear and hawking it and selling it and flipping it to make a buck. I don't do that. The only gear that I do here is stuff that stays in the studio unless I can give it away. I don't know. I have 4 Audioscape pieces, love them. Awesome. How'd you hear about Audioscape? Was it from my channel or did you hear about it somewhere else? Just curious. I got the Audioscape Decomp, great compressor. Oh yeah, that's the one I want. That is one that I would like to get from Audioscape. That's another thing. I don't have that flavor here, that EMI thing. I'd love to try that. The 260 you'll love. It's a great compressor. I love Audioscape, man. They make great stuff. They really do. Oh, is that true, Braxel? API and MOG do not offer any extra finance suite. You only get 6 standard months to pay in full. Well, 6 standard months is, well, I hear what you're saying. I get it. They're not on the 36-month plan like a lot of their brands, but 6-month financing is still financing, right? But I hear what you're saying. It's not like you get 36 months like on a lot of their stuff. I get it. Dave, if you give me bad advice, I'll let you know. Yes, I wouldn't give you bad advice. So far, everything is good. Thank you. You're welcome. You don't have to, you can listen to my advice and not agree with me. That could happen. I could tell you a piece I really like and you may not like it. And that's okay. That's, you know, we're all hearing things different. But I'm very, very particular about trying to make sure. I should probably put the comments up a little so you can see the warm audio piece. You don't need to see it. It's already been there. Anyway, I try to be very careful to make sure, you know, when I tell people about stuff and how I'm hearing it, what I like, I really do, man. You can ask David S.J., who's the only other one that's ever sat in the room with me off camera about this stuff. I really try to be very careful about being as honest and as transparent as I can about the stuff, you know, because it is so subjective. And just because I like the way something sounds, you may not like it. And sometimes the sound on a YouTube video, I don't know. I'm not sure that's always the best way to hear this stuff, but it's the only way we got, right? And so I try to be very, very careful that if I tell you this thing is cool or killer, it's because I really do believe it, pardon me, and that I really do take that seriously. I really do. And, you know, and again, it's, like I said, I don't get anything if you buy the stuff or not. So because of that, I feel like I could be really, really honest and say, you know, just like you guys are all my friends. If you guys are all my buddies coming over to my studio and we were talking, you were like, hey, Dave, I'm in the market for A, B, or C. What do you think? I'll say, well, here's some of my favorites. And I'd point to a couple of favorites. That's really how I try to do this. And again, I'm not suggesting other YouTubers don't. I'm just telling you there are some YouTubers that that I question. But there's a lot of good people out there trying to do the right thing. And I really try to make sure I'm one of those people. So yeah, so if I tell you, I try to give good advice. You had a number 9 AS78. You had to send it back for repair. UPS damage. Oh my God, really? The unit was so bad that Chris had to make me a new one. Wow, UPS damaged it, man. Man, that's terrible. I'm glad Chris made you a new one and he signed it. Okay, that's cool. I'm glad that he took care of you. He promised you the MK609. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's another one I don't need. I got one. No, never gonna BS you on the gear, man. Never gonna do that. 6 months on API, 2448 would be about $17K a month. Yeah, it sure would, Zona. But you know what you can do with you can with other companies, I'm sure, as well. But with Sweetwater, like when I bought my SSL, I bought it from Sweetwater, but I didn't finance it through SSL. They work with a couple of different third-party companies that work with financing on larger purchased items like consoles. And that's probably how you would do the 2448. You wouldn't buy it on a 6-month plan. You'd buy it through one of their third-party companies. And Sweetwater set the whole thing up and made it really easy, actually. You know, it was like, it wasn't a, you know, that extra step or whatever. It wasn't a pain. The company got in contact with me. They sent me some paperwork, you know, an application. And once I got approved, I had to sign, you know, 3 or 4 pieces of paper, and that was it. And Sweetwater, coordinated all of it. Was really simple. They worked hand in hand with the company to make sure that the payments went through, and then Sweetwater sent them the money, and then Sweetwater made sure SSL was going to send me my console, because the console wasn't at Sweetwater. It was sitting in the SSL factory in the UK. And so Sweetwater was able to coordinate all those 3 things and get this thing here. No fuss, no muss, man. So that's how you would probably finance a console, is through one of the third-party companies. That's exactly how I did it. Did you hear about what happened to Glenn Fricker on his Neve? He had to have Neve send him a new computer that goes inside. Oh no, I didn't know that. No, someone said earlier that, I don't know Glenn. I know who he is. I've watched a couple of his videos here and there, but he's more of a guitar metal guy, and that's not my thing. But I know he's got a huge following and whatnot. But anyway, someone said he gave me a nice shout out the other day. I didn't know that he knew who I was. I don't know what he said about me, but someone said it was nice. That was very cool of him. So if he happens to see, if Glenn is watching this video at one point, thank you, Glenn. I've never met him. If Glenn ever wants to reach out and hook up and chat, I'd love to talk. If you got a Neve, that's awesome. I think someone said he had a Neve Genesis, right? The black? Well, he bought a new Neve console from Sweden. I don't know what I don't know what he did, but I heard he got a console not too long ago. And no, I did not hear he had problems though. That sucks. But it happens, man. Hey, John Doe, what's up, buddy? You could not use a Neve due to the computer issue. Oh my goodness. Well, I hope Neve took care of him. I'm sure they did, because Glenn is he's got a huge following and a huge channel, and he can, you know, really damage a company if he says something bad about them if they don't treat him right. So I'm sure Neve would do that with anybody, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm sure Neve is going to take good care of Glenn, because they don't want a guy that has over 1 million followers or whatever the hell he has. Way more than my little, you know, I'm just like this little corner of the world. I don't have nearly the reach or nearly the influence as someone like him. And never will, which is totally fine, but it just is what it is. Uncle Dave, we all know about your passion, determination, and honesty about gearing your thoughts. This is why we truly respect your experience with the gear you use. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I try very, very hard to be very honest. One of the reasons I did not go with the Genesis Black, mixing the computer with the analog, scares me. Well, you know, that's the way things are going, man, though, Zona. But I hear what you're saying. I'll tell you what, that here, before I bought this, the only other console that I actually put my hands on and tried was a Genesis Black. I might have told you that, guys, that story at one point. I don't remember. When I was in the market for a console, there were two. The first console I looked at was a Neve Genesis Black. And it was because of the whole hybrid in the box, out of the box, recall automation. You know, again, I remember when I started this channel, I was coming in really green, meaning I've worked in studios, I came up in studios, but I was more of a recording engineer, tracking guy. I didn't really work a lot of the gear. A little bit before I got out of that world. So I had very little hands-on, real true experience with consoles, hands-on, real true experience with hardware. Most of my career was tracking and then mixing in the box, plugins. So when I wanted to get into this world, I was really learning on my own, and I really had no idea, no clue. You know, and even today I feel like I don't have a clue compared to some other people. But I know a lot more than I did. Anyway, so I was really concerned about a console for all the things that we talk about that now come to find out really aren't a concern at all now that I've been doing it. One of it was automation, recall. How do you deal with all of that? So, you know, with a console like this, I didn't know. So I looked at a Genesis Black, and it is a cool console. Two things I didn't like about the Genesis Black that I would still, now that I know more than I did back then, I still don't like these two features unless they've changed it in new revisions. One was, even though all of their EQs and dynamics are digitally controlled for recall, not like this, where I have to reach out and turn a knob, and then if I want to recall it, I got to go back with my pictures and I got to reset all the knobs. With Genesis Black, all of the EQs and dynamics, there's no pots. It's on a PC card that's underneath the console, under the hood. So it's all 100% recallable. Analog path, 100% recallable, much like West Audio. But the only way you can control that EQ or that dynamics is with their proprietary plugins, with their proprietary software. So in other words, it was no different than opening up a plugin on a screen and using a mouse and tweaking all the knobs, but it was truly analog under the hood. I think there was some, if I remember right, they might have had like 5 or 6 common encoders that you can tweak the EQ and the compressor with, some encoders, if I remember right. But I didn't like that, because even though you might have those encoders, you only can work on one thing at a time, just like in the box. Whereas if I have a pair of overheads here, I can reach up with two hands and I can tweak and I'm constantly EQing like this. Constantly. Can't do that on a Genesis Black. That was the first thing I didn't like. The second thing I didn't like was, unless you were going to spend $150,000 to $200,000 at that time, the only console that they had that was in my price bracket, which was about the 50 grand-ish, was a 24 fader console with only 8 1073 pre's, only 8 inputs. Now you can buy more. And at the time, that only had 8 EQs, no dynamics. Those were add-ons. By the time you got to a board that had, I wanted 32 faders, 32 inputs, not just 8, 32 EQs. By the time you did that, you were at, I think, 160 or 70,000 at that particular time. Again, it's probably more than that now. This is prior to COVID. So for me, their entry-level console wasn't going to allow me to take a 32-channel session and spill it across the board. What was cool about it, though, was the fact that you had some DAW control in there. But again, the model that I looked at didn't have, it wasn't like you had 24 faders and all those 24 faders controlled the 24 faders in the DAW. If I remember right, that was only a 16-channel DAW controller in that. And again, I was looking at a console that was about $55,000 at the time, the model that I sat in front of. Again, by the time you spec'd it out, so to me, the Neve Genesis Black at that price point, at that time, again, things might have changed, just felt like a bit, it didn't feel a whole lot better to me than working with a fader port, to be totally honest with you. Yeah, it's Neve and it's got a sound and all of that, but from a functionality and from a process point of view, I felt like I was going to be spending almost as much time with mouse and keyboard fiddling with plugins or their plugins than I was anything else. And then I said, well, what's the point? It was really a summing mixer at that point. And at that point, it wasn't even a large summing mixer. It was more of a small one. Now, again, if you go out and you go spend big bucks, you can get it, the way any way you want it, which is great. You can't do that with this. But that's it. But now they got new models out. They're doing different things. It may be different. But, so that's the only other console that I actually sat in front of, aside from this one when I was looking. And I'm happy with this one. I would have loved to have a huge Genesis Black, would have been really nice, but that's just way out of my price range, man. And even to this day, it still is. It's just way out of my price range. So, yes, he got a new Genesis Black. Cool, man. What do you think about the 1608? Isn't that a console with recall computer built in it? That's the API. Yeah, but it's only a 16-channel mixer. And I believe, again, Zona would be the expert on the API, but I think with API, same thing. You have some consoles, you can get automation package or not automation package, depending on your price point, right, Zona? There's a few things in there that an API that you could customize. But I think the 1608 can get a recall computer in it, but it's only 16 channels. And again, I don't know the particulars of that model. I don't know that does it have 16 EQs in it, or do you have the 500 series rack? Zona would know. But yeah, 16 channels I didn't feel was enough for me. But no, I hear you. When the computer goes on, you can't use the console. I get it. You're right. You're 100% correct. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the more complicated the consoles are, the more bells and whistles, the more flexibility they have with the DAW. You're right. the more shit to go wrong in them. I mean, that's for sure. Which is oh, it's a Windows computer. Oh yeah, I wouldn't buy it just for that. Yeah, you know, but when you get right, I agree with you guys. Like, this is not tied to the computer, but it's all manual, man. It's all manual. So that you can't have all the fancy stuff. If you want all the fancy stuff, you got to have a computer. Even the old SSLs had a computer. Now, granted, the computer is, you know, is archaic by today's standards, but if you want automation or if you want recall, there's a computer tied to it. It's as simple as that. If you don't want that, then you don't need to worry about that and you have less problems, but you don't have as much flexibility. But like I said before, and a million times on this channel, recall doesn't bother me at all. I do so few recalls, it's not even funny. Recall is the least of my problems. I know people really worry about that. I personally don't. And I have a workaround for the automation with the West Audio stuff. It's not as nice as automation built into the console, like on the API and stuff. Nowhere near as nice. It's a little clunky, but it works. And it's cheap, comparatively speaking, the West Audio, the NG levelers. I have 32 channels of post-processing automation for $4,000. I mean, that is, you add the automation package to any console, it's way more than $4,000. It's nicer than the West Audio. The West Audio is a little clunky, but it works. And so, yeah, it's a workaround. It's a workaround. But I have a console with automation, not built into it, but it's fully recallable in the DAW. It works perfectly. I've used it a bunch. I use it all the time and it works. And once you get past, you know, the little clunkiness and you get used to it, it's fine. But it's not as nice as having a motorized fader that you can ride right here on the console. But I don't know. I know I shouldn't say he's a student. He's more of a colleague, but he had a 4000 G Plus with motorized faders and automation. He sold it for the Origin, and he said he didn't like the motorized faders. He said they were a lot of times they were sticky, they were static electricity, they didn't always snap back perfectly, and more again, anytime you got stuff that's moving, you got potential problems from a maintenance standpoint. He said he loves the Origin. He loves that there's no motorized faders. He says they feel way smoother. They're way more accurate. That was his opinion. I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, so what do you do for automation? He was the one that turned me on to the NG levelers. That's how I learned about them. He said, have you ever heard of these things? And he showed it to me. We got on a Zoom call and he got his webcam out and he showed me how he used them. I said, holy shit, that looks great. He goes, it is. He goes, it takes a little getting used to, but he said it's great. And he only had it on his buses. He only had one unit on his buses. He didn't have it on all the other channels because for him that was enough. And that's how I started. I started with the NG levelers on my buses. And then once I saw the power of that, I said, oh, forget it. I gotta have it. I gotta have it on all 32 channels. So one West Audio NG leveler is 16 channels. So I got 2 of them. So I got one for each bucket. I don't have them on the buses. I would have to get a third one to do that. And you can put, I think, 4 of those together, daisy chain them. And I will say, not that I automate all 32 channels, I don't, right? But I have it available and I will say it does work. So if you have a console that doesn't have automation or motorized faders, or if you're in the market for a console and that's important to you, and then you start getting into, well, if you want a console that has automation, it skyrockets the price. It's one thing to consider. It might be an option for you. I did a video on it and show you how it's hooked up. It is pretty easy and it does work well, you know? So, you know, again, we talked about this before. When you talk about consoles, depending on your price point and your workflow, there's sacrifices to be made, right? And you just got to pick and choose your battles. So But even if your studio computer dies, you still can't use your console unless you guys are going to tape for everything. I don't know. I don't know if the computer. Well, I know, Chris, if the Genesis Black computer dies, well, you can't use any of the EQs or preamps or dynamics that are in the box. It's all done with a computer. And because they're flying faders, I wonder if the computer dies, that probably controls the fader position, the flying faders. You may not be, I don't know. That's a good question. But I would imagine there would be some things you couldn't use. I remember how fun it was using tape. You store tape tails out to avoid to print them through. I love to hear that the machine going high speed back and forth. Yeah. Tape is a whole nother thing, man. Oh, Kitchen of Sounds is saying, no, you cannot use the board to get the sound. Glenn just posted a video this morning. I'll have to watch his video. Especially now that he said something nice about me, apparently. How about the API? Hi, Malcolm. Can you add channel buckets to the 1608? I don't think so. I think that's a desktop mixer. I believe. Can you have to go to Sweetwater and look? I don't think the 1608 you can add buckets. I think you got to buy one of their larger format consoles to do that. Referring to the computer you use, whether it's Mac or PC. Oh, if any computer dies, the console is useless. Oh, unless you are recording to tape. API has its own system for their automation. Oh, okay, not Windows. It works great. Yeah, it's built right into the desk, right? I'm sure it works really good. I'm sure it does. Oh, it says you can add buckets to the 1608. Okay, see, I'm wrong. I'm not really up on my API stuff the way Zona is. He had a 32 channel and sold it to move to a 2448. Yeah, you know, maybe, yeah, Zona is the API, you know, czar here. I looked at a few other consoles early on. I never really went too far down the road because it was just too expensive for me. It was just way too far out of my budget at the time. So, yeah. I don't think tape is practical, although I like using it. No, it's not practical at all, but it's fun. Definitely not practical. But it is cool. Yes, API is a computer built into the desk. Yeah, for their automation and their recall, maybe. Cool. Yeah, API is great, man. Who doesn't like API? I like API. I just can't afford their console. It's too expensive. It's way out of my price bracket, boys. This is about, you know, this is pretty much it for me. I mean, something would radically have to change in my business to be able to go out and spend 2 or 3 times what I paid for this for anything. From a business point of view, it just doesn't make any sense. Just doesn't make any sense. Now, if I was a big time YouTube influencer and a company wanted to put a console in my studio, well, that would be a different story now, wouldn't it? But I don't have enough of an influence to do that. But a guy like Glenn probably does. Again, I don't know that he didn't pay for his. He probably paid for his. I don't know him. But he has enough viewers on a channel that it wouldn't surprise me if a company like a Neve put a Genesis Black in his studio, because it's on camera in every single video, whether he's talking about the console or not. It's in every single video, product placement. And trust me when I tell you, companies want product placement. They do. Especially if you have hundreds of thousands of people watching your videos. So if I don't know that Glenn got a deal like that. If he did, good for you, brother. But I can tell you right now, good old Uncle Dave with 13,000 subscribers, there ain't no console company on the planet that's putting a console in this studio for free. If they did, API or Neve or SSL, I'd be happy to talk to you about upgrading and doing a bunch of free videos for you. Probably never going to happen. API even has 200 series modules you can add to their desk. You mean 500 series? Yeah, they do. They do. They do. I know. The API has the 500 series thing that you could put in there. That's cool, man. You can't do that on this. Well, you could do that on the SSL XL series desks. You can do that. And again, I think that's really cool. A tabletop type mixer that you could put your own pre's, dynamics, EQs in. I think that's super cool. Super cool. If you're into that stuff, you know, if you want to build like your own custom kind of thing, I think that's great, man. Still got about what, 40 people here? How many people? Oh no, 30 people. Okay, cool. Yeah. So what else you guys got? Anything else? What else you guys want to talk about? So you'll be looking forward to some videos on this. I'll do some. I'll tell you guys the real deal about this thing. I hope it's good. I hope it's good. Part of me hopes it isn't good because I don't want to spend $1,100. I don't want to buy any more gear. But if it is really cool, I'll tell yous. Even if I don't buy it and it's cool, I'll tell yous. It could be cool and it's just not for me. You know? I don't know. Or it could be cool and it is for me. I guess we'll have to find out. But yeah, this is the first time. Well, this is not the first time. Dave and I did a video on when he had his warm audio bus compressor, which again, didn't sound as good as the one in the console. I mean, I said it on video. Again, it's not a dig against warm. It just didn't. And Dave went home that day, sold his warm audio and bought an SSL. I don't know. So this thing may sound awesome. I don't know. I don't know. You're on your way. Glenn has been doing this for 15 years. Yeah, well, you know what? I won't be on YouTube another 15 years, so I'll never get to that level. These guys, I'll never even get 100,000 subscribers. This channel is way too small, and it's been around now 3 years. It's way too small, and that's okay. I don't care. Even my other channel, Home Recording Made Easy, I only have about 71,000 subscribers. I've been doing that 10 years. A lot of guys that came into the game way later than me that have already far surpassed me. And that's okay. I don't compete with anybody, but I'll never have that kind of reach. Never. I don't make videos like they do. And again, they do a great job. And they're, you know, I just don't have, I don't, you also got to understand that for a lot of those guys, and it's great. Again, I'm not saying anything bad. I think it's great. That's just their business model. Totally cool. A lot of those guys, a good portion of their living is made from YouTube. YouTube ad money. If you got a guy like Glenn, again, I don't know Glenn, but I know he's got a big channel and I know lots of people watch his videos. So without even knowing him or a channel like him, just knowing the amount of ad money that I make from my tiny little channel, and if I took, if I said, well, I'm just making this much, and they got a channel that is 100 times the size of me, I know those channels are making big bucks just in ad money, not to mention sponsorships. They make, if not all of their living on YouTube, probably a very good portion of it, which is fantastic. Again, I'm the exact opposite. I don't make a living on YouTube. YouTube is the least amount of money that I make. Out of all of the things that I make money in my business, it's the least amount of money. And it takes in some areas, almost the most amount of my time, which seems kind of strange, right? But I don't use YouTube as a way to make a living. I use YouTube as a way to help people, in a way to, at least at Home Recording Made Easy, to drive people to my training courses. That's where I make my money. And YouTube for me is just a platform for people to know about me and know who I am and get a chance to know me and get a chance to trust me and feel good about buying my courses. I'm not in the game to make big YouTube money, and I'm not in the game to do big sponsorships. That's not what I do. I guess if I wanted to run a channel that way, I probably could. I think I can make videos if I really wanted to, as well as any of those other guys do. I'm just not interested in that. It's not my thing. So, so I will never have a channel the size like those guys do. And then again, that's okay. I mean, that's okay. I can have my little small piece of the YouTube world and I'm happy. But I also, you know, the thing about that too, and that again, for me, you know, and that was a very, for people that want to know, because I know there's a couple of you here tonight, because I've had private coaching sessions with you about running your own business and starting your own business and doing this for a living, is that when you're depending on a thing like a YouTube to make your living, you really have no control. Meaning YouTube could change the way the game is played. They could change the way the money is paid out. They can change the way the algorithm works, and they do it all the time. And you have absolutely no control. And YouTube could go away at any time. It probably won't, but it could. And if you're relying on that and you really have no control, you're just really working for somebody else in a lot of ways. You're really dependent on a company that you have no control over to help supply your living. Where me, on the other hand, I could stop YouTube tomorrow and never make another YouTube video, and my business would be just fine. I probably would lose a little bit of revenue because new people wouldn't maybe get to know me, but I could stop making YouTube videos tomorrow. My business would still flourish without a doubt, because I don't rely on YouTube to make a living. And so, you know, that's just the way I choose to run my part of the world. But a lot of these guys that are big sponsors, big channels, lots of views, companies tripping over themselves to send them stuff, paying them for sponsored videos, that's all awesome. But if that ever dries up, and if that's where all your eggs are, you're out of business, man. Elon Musk could buy YouTube tomorrow and shut it down, and it wouldn't affect me even a little. But I know people that their whole world would crash if that happens. It probably would never happen, but it could. And so that's okay. So yeah, so that's all right. I don't mind if I'm not the biggest. And if I don't play the game like everybody else. Everyone's got to feel comfortable with what they do. And I'm happy for guys like Glenn that have such a huge following, that have been so successful. You know, I respect that tremendously, because they did something I wasn't able to do. Are you happy with your current converter sound, Uncle Dave? Yeah, I got those, the Antelope Galaxy 64. I think they sound fine. Do they sound any better than what I had? I don't think so. I mean, again, we've talked about that before. Yeah, no, I like the converters. The sound of the converter to me, I think, is irrelevant in today's day and age. I've talked about that before many, many times on this channel. I think the sound of the converter, if you have a good piece of gear, your converter is not your weakest link in the chain, probably. And I think people put way too much stock in the sound of the converter. That's what I think personally. And I've done enough testing on this channel to confirm that. And a lot of people that have watched those videos, you know, I've educated them and they agree with me. And probably just as many people said that I'm crazy, I'm out of my mind, and they don't believe a word I say, which is totally fine. So, but the answer to your question is yes, I'm happy with the converters. I wasn't unhappy with my other converters. You could buy a series like 200 rack and like 500 rack from API. Cool. What's a 200 rack? Is that a typo? Glenzel also sells plugins and guitar pedals as well. Oh, he does? He has his own... What you mean? Does he have his own pedals? And his own plugins? No. Does he really? That's awesome. Good for Glenn. I'm sure Glenn's doing quite well. I got to go find the video where he said something nice about me. If anyone knows of that video, please send me the link. I didn't know. Someone said, hey, he gave you a good shout out the other day. I go, he did? I'm surprised he would even know who I am. Maybe because he got a Neve console and he was looking around for gear or whatever and he stumbled upon me. And that's great. Good for Glenn, man. Like I said, if Glenn ever sees the video, thanks for watching, buddy. And I'd love to talk to you sometimes. Sometime, if you're up for it. API is a 200 series mic pre's, high pass, low pass, or sweep filters, and a noise gate compressor. Cool. API is cool. Love API. Steven says a 200 series is smaller than the 500 series. Well, I would imagine it would be. I just don't know if I've ever seen a 200 series unit. Maybe I haven't. I just didn't realize that's what I was looking at. I don't know. Braxton said he killed himself over converters. I'm sticking with my RME. Yeah, stop worried about your converter. Cannot wait to get into new RME. Yeah, don't worry about your converter. Your converter's not the problem. Keep telling people that. Stop watching all the YouTubers that tell you the converter's the answer to all your problems. It's not. Yes, Glenn has his own website for those. Wow, that's great. I think I have watched this video and shout out on your channel. Yeah, I want to know what video that was. What the hell was he talking about me for? That's okay, though. That's awesome. Yeah, I got to think, you know, it's funny because I don't know too many YouTube. As a matter of fact, I don't know that anyone, I mean, is there any other channel out there that's doing like analog the way I'm doing it? Like just focused on mixing analog, not recording. We're just talking about mixing. We're just talking about analog. Most channels do, do like a mixture of in the box, plugins out of the box, like a whole thing where I'm just really focused on analog. I mean, hybrid, yeah, but really mostly analog, right? I don't know if there's anyone else that's doing that. I mean, you see other channels that do a piece of gear demo and stuff, but I don't know that anyone has the breadth of videos that I have here on the analog stuff. At least I don't think so. Even guys like Warren Hewitt, he does most stuff in the box and stuff, right? You don't really see him doing videos where he's actually using that SSL that he has. I know he just got a new audience, which he talked about, which is cool. And he does a lot of interviews in studio. He does way more than just, he doesn't just focus on analog gear. And he focuses more from a producer, right? Produce like a pro, duh. He's more like producer, where I'm mixing engineer. That's it, mixing engineer, analog, studio setup, learning and making a fool of myself trying to figure all this stuff out. I don't know if there's anyone else doing that. If there is, let me know who it is, because I'd like to check them out. So that's great. If Glenn or somebody else found me, that's awesome. And I hope they like what I do. I'll have to watch more of his channels if he said something. I'll have to watch more of his videos if he said something nice about me, just to learn more about him, because I really don't know much about him. Other than I know he has a big following and he's like kind of a heavy metal guy, right? He's a heavy metal guy. And he does like a lot of real metals. Again, it's not my style of music that I'm into. That's probably why I never watched him. But I'll go check out a few of his things because I want to see what he's doing. Have you tried putting those stand mic pre's on your master bus? No. No video's been done for that yet because Josh recommended and he's sending me, I guess they're putting a different tube into that now than the originals had. And he recommended that I upgrade the tube and he's sending me a pair of tubes. So I haven't done anything with them yet until I get the new tubes. Those are going to be given away too. That's another piece of gear that's going to be given away. Probably not till the end of the year for one of the mixing contests for one of the courses. Which, by the way, the mixing, if you're all, well, again, this is the wrong audience, but it's all in the box. The mixing masterclass coming out in 9 days, July 15th. And there's an analog component to it where I did the mix on the console and I did like a 2-part video series on how I mixed it. So there is some analog in there, but it's really for my in the box advanced class. But the mixing master class, even if you're working analog, man, I think it's really, really good. Going to be a great course. The link for it is in the description box of this video. If you look in the description box, you'll see it. And there's a mixing contest where I'm giving away some cool gear. No hardware for that mixing, except I got a couple of DAW controllers we're giving away. But when we do the next mixing hybrid courses, those are going to have some of the hardware. The Stam Audio pre's, a couple of the Z&H EQs, and maybe an Audioscape piece as well. I'm still working that out. But the answer to your question is no, I haven't tried them yet. We haven't done a video yet, but when we get the new tubes, we will. Glenn gave you his good grace. Oh, cool. Dave, you are one of your gear review videos, if I remember correctly. Oh, okay, cool. That's nice. I'm going to go check out Glenn. I'm going to give him a look-see now that people said he said something cool about me. And I'll see if I can find a video where I can see something cool about him. I want to see his problems on his knee, because that's the thing I'm interested in. I feel bad for him if he had problems on his knee. Man, that really sucks. Especially because I know he just recently got one. So that would be terrible if he had problems. I hate hearing that. So cool, man. So we've been on here almost 2 hours. So anything else? I'll stay on a few more minutes if you guys have anything else. We still got like 20 something people here, which is really cool. 14 thumbs up, which is great. Thank you so much for that. Again, thank you for joining me for my warm audio unboxing. That's fun. And we'll be doing a video on this thing soon, as well as some other videos. Glenn knows his crap with recording gear. Oh, cool. He's out of Canada, I think he said, right? What was your most recent aha moment with mixing something? I'm drawing a blank. My most recent aha moment? Did I have any aha moments recently? I did. When I was doing a mix for a client and we were referencing a Chris Lord Algae mix, and he was really looking for the Chris Lord Algae drum thing, which I spent, man, I really dug. I learned a couple of tricks to really get that kind of CLA drum thing. I'm still working on it. I'm going to do some videos around it. I'm not going to share it right now, but I'm going to do some videos where I got a couple of cool tricks that were new for me. And so that was fun. You know, I'm really going to be getting back into more as I get through these courses and some of the things I talked about in the last live stream, and I start getting some more time freed up here to really do more experiment. And I want to record some of this stuff and maybe some of it in a live stream. As a matter of fact, probably in a live stream where I want to do more experimenting and sitting down with a piece of gear, getting it out of the rack, getting it right in here next to me, and be able to patch it in on a bunch of different things that I normally wouldn't do on it, and really work the gear in a way that I've never really would typically work with it, to really learn more about my tools. You know, one thing that I always would preach about, you know, with students, especially when I teach stuff in the box, is really understanding your plugins and understanding your tools. And the same goes with hardware, and really understanding where stuff can work that maybe you didn't think, and finding those little workflow things. And the only way you get there is by sitting down and experimenting, and by just playing with stuff and not worried about it. You don't want to do it on a client job, obviously, or, you know, in a training course, but where I can just sit down with a session and just mess with stuff and just experiment and try to figure things out and try to, again, just get better at this. That, to me, is the thing that I'm trying to really do more and more, because that also then spawns content ideas and things that I can share. And that's the one thing that I don't see, again, I don't see a lot of that on YouTube. You see a lot of the same thing over and over and over. And it's just like, there's so much more to this stuff than just the stuff that I see online. So I want to try to bring that. But yeah, that my most recent aha moment were some things I learned around drums, mixing drums, and some little tricks and some little techniques. How about the Antelope software support? They had a bad reputation about that. Yep. Also, every OS upgrade, they will not upgrade along with it. I'm talking about Antelope Pure 2. I don't know about Pure 2. That was one thing I was reluctant when I got the Antelope, was because I heard the same things you heard about the software. Now, the good news for me is I don't use the software. It's there, we set it up once, and I don't use it. I don't use all their routing. I don't use their plugins. I don't use any of that stuff. So I know the software is very powerful. I really don't have a lot of experience with it. They used to have a bad reputation, but over the last few years, they've upgraded and they've changed their software considerably, and most people now say it's very stable and they like it. But mine, I don't even open the app. I don't need to. And so I don't use it really the way it's supposed to be used. Now, I will tell you that their tech support is amazing. When I first got the Galaxy in here, there were a couple of things I were confused about. I got them on the phone instantly. Within 5 minutes, I got them on the phone. They were logged into my system via remotely and helping me out. I will say the couple of experiences I had with their tech support, they were fantastic. And that made me feel really good because I was really nervous about their software. But I haven't had any issues with it. I tell everybody, don't upgrade your Mac OS every time it comes out unless you absolutely have to. Do not upgrade. I don't know why people do that. And then people get pissed off when the plugins and the DAWs and some of the software support isn't working the day the OS comes out. You're foolish if you update your OS every time it comes out. You're foolish. I always try to stay on the Mac two versions behind if possible, unless you bought a brand new computer and then you have no choice. Like when I bought this computer, my SSL, my Mac Mini, I went back and put Ventura on it. I went back. I got a drive and went back to make sure everything was compatible. I don't upgrade the OS unless it's absolutely necessary. Because when Mac puts out a new OS, which is pretty much every year, it seems like, or every 8 months, not all the plugins are ready, not all the DAWs are ready, not all the third-party, interface software, all that stuff is not always going to be ready on day one. And at least for me, I don't know about for a lot of you guys, the Mac that I use for my studio is a dedicated computer for my studio. I don't need to upgrade the Mac OS every time it comes out. Why? What new features are in that new OS that I can't live without that's going to stop me from running my studio? Almost none. Now, there does become a point in time where you get so many versions behind that you have to upgrade, or if you bought a new plugin, it won't work with the old stuff. But that was really when they had the Intel versus the M1 Silicon chips. If you're on an M1 Mac, if you're on the Apple chip, you don't need to upgrade your OS. So if you don't worry about that part of it, you shouldn't have to worry. But so far, that's my experience with Antelope. It's been okay. I haven't had any issues, but I'm still relative. I've only had the thing about 6 months. Hi, George. George, it's I purchased your mixing hybrid acoustic rock. Oh, cool, man. And your attention to detail is off the charts, Dave. Money well spent. Thank you. I tell everyone here, one of the... Some guys think, some of the cats here think that, they already know, they can't learn it. I tell everybody here watching this channel, if you mix for real and I don't care if you're mixing for clients, you will learn something from the mixing hybrid courses. Trust me when I tell you, you will learn something. Anyone that's using hardware, anyone that's thinking about using hardware, anyone just getting into hardware, anyone that's even working all in the box of plugins and wants to know what the differences are, you will absolutely learn a snizzle ton of stuff from these mixing hybrid courses. And George is an example of that. Thank you, George. I appreciate it. I'm telling you, everybody should have those courses. There's nothing like that else on the market. Nowhere, anywhere. If you find something that's like it, let me know. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a better mixing engineer than everybody else. It's absolutely irrelevant. That's not why. It's because I talk about this stuff and show you the gear and how I use the gear and why I use the gear. I talk about it in a way that nobody else talks about it. Even the real famous guys, some of them talk about things a little bit, but nobody goes into the detail about this stuff. They just don't. Not with hardware. You see a lot with plugins, but not with hardware. I've yet to see anyone put out a course like those. So buy it. Support what I do, and you'll learn something. Or you'll learn what you don't like. You will learn workflow tips. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And I'm telling you, man, I tell people this too. And again, a lot of you guys do this, but just for people that may be watching this in the future. no matter how much experience you think you have, you always should be trying to learn and train and continue to get better. I buy courses all the time, for a few reasons. One, because I like to learn. I always learn something. It could just be a little workflow thing. It could be another way they're using a plugin in their hybrid situation. It could be, it's always great to see other engineers and how they work. You'll always learn something. Plus, I buy lots of courses because I want to see how things are being taught, so I can try to, where I feel there's gaps in the education market, I could try to fill those gaps with things like mixing hybrid, so I could put something out that's unique, that's not like everybody else. But I tell everyone, man, whether you buy my courses or somebody else's or both, and I recommend that you buy from a bunch of different people, you will learn something. The day that you stop training yourself, the day that you stop getting better at this craft, and this is a craft like no other craft, like any other craft that's out there, you should constantly be learning and training. So I appreciate your purchase, George, and I hope other people buy them as well. And like that's why I said, the mixing master class, I know a lot of you guys are hardware guys, and that is really more in the box, but it's like an analog workflow in the box, and there is an analog component to it, as I said. When that comes out, I would encourage everyone to buy it. There's already a few students that got the course ahead of time that have already put video reviews on the webpage. I really think it's something that I'm really proud of, and I think people will learn stuff from it. I don't know, but that's just me. I buy people's training all the time, because I always want to learn. I don't. You know, there's always going to be people that are better than you and me, and there's always going to be people that you're going to be better than. And it's a constant journey, and training is the key. So again, thank you, George. I appreciate the kind words. I'm glad it helped you, brother. Believe me, there's 2 more mixing hybrids coming this year. One's going to be country, focused on country. One's going to be focused on hard rock music. Hey, Jason. My studio's all torn apart. Oh my God. I hope it's okay. I'm doing an addition and getting more space. Right on, brother. Knocking down walls, so it's going to be a mess. Good for you, man. Good for you. I hope it goes well, and I'm excited to hear that you're expanding. I love mixing with compressed parallel drum mix. I always do that. It adds dimensions to your drums. I use it all the time. Not just on drums. A lot of people, they just do drums. I do parallel compression on a lot of different things. But drums, yeah, drums are awesome. Oh, higher grounds, that's right, yep. Thanks for your time and talk. You're very welcome, thank you. Without you guys, there's no... Without you guys, there's no Uncle Dave. Without this audience, there's no YouTube channel, there's no nothing. I'll be here for you guys as long as you guys keep showing up. If you guys stop showing up one day and stop watching the videos, there'll be no more YouTube Uncle Dave. Yep, I've always mixed with compressed parallel bus. Okay, cool. Vintage drive on my SSL Fusion was overcooking my mixes. And I figured out 2 days ago, you have to do it subtle. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. When I had the Fusion, it was a great piece, by the way. Yes, you can very easily overcook with saturation because it sounds so good, right? And then you go back, 2 days, 3 days later, and you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? I overcooked it. You got to go subtle. And you will learn that in my hybrid mixing courses or any of my mixing courses. You will learn. And because I say this sort of statement all the time. Compression or saturation, distortion, coloration, whatever nice fancy word you want to throw around it, is done throughout my signal path in probably 15 different places. But it's all done very subtly along the way. There's not any one place where I'm smashing the hell out of anything except parallel drums or whatever and just feathering them in, or oversaturating, or people, over pushing the console and everything's in the red. People think, because they've heard 1 or 2 people do that, or there was an old console where it made sense to do that, and they saw a YouTube video, and they think that's what you're supposed to do on every single console, which is not true, not with this one anyway. But things are done in a very subtle way, but it's done in every single stage of the mix. And there's a reason for that. And I talk about that in the courses. So yes, you want to be careful that you don't go crazy in any one area because you can ruin a mix that way. But the only way you learn is by overdoing it and then learning and then listening back and going, oops, don't do that. Big reason to stay reasonably up to date is security updates. That's true. They usually keep security updates coming for a while, but eventually you have to update if you want to keep the Mac on the internet. You know, I hear, but again, if you have again, and I don't know, everyone's not the same, but if I have a dedicated computer to just my studio, there's no sensitive data on here. So in other words, I'm not that worried about security. I don't think someone's hacking into my little SSL computer here. There's nothing on there that they're going to find. But I hear you. But even though I'm not saying don't like when you get a Mac OS and you're on, let's say, Ventura, there'll be a bunch of little security updates, but you'll still be on Ventura, which isn't going to change the whole architecture of the OS and then all your stuff doesn't work with it anymore. What I'm saying is you don't necessarily every 6 months need to upgrade from Ventura to whatever the next one is, Simona, and then the next one after that, and the next one. You don't have to do that every time it comes out. You don't. You don't. At least I don't. I don't. Not in my studio. I don't need to do that. But yeah, there is a point in time when you have to upgrade sooner or later, but I try to wait as long as possible just to make sure that all the interfaces and the drivers and the plugins and all that stuff is compatible. Once it's compatible and it's been proven that it's compatible, then upgrade. But I don't ever update when they first come out. Time for pizza, that's right. It's already 9:30. Okay, we're going to end this now. It's been 2 hours. But I want to thank you guys so much. Thank you for the 20 thumbs up. It really does mean a lot to me. I really do appreciate all you guys. Thank you for joining me for my warm audio unboxing. Stay tuned to the videos when they come out. They'll come out sooner or later. And in the meantime, just keep watching the videos. Keep thumbs up in the videos. Keep commenting on, in the comment sections. There's lots of videos coming. And yeah, I think that's it, man. That's all we're going to do for tonight. Maybe we'll get on here again in a few more weeks. We'll see. And you guys will hopefully be back and you'll join me again and we'll do some more cool stuff. Okay? Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your holiday weekend and I'll see you guys soon.